Hi everybody, welcome to this Hanging on Air where we're going to be focusing on Android and Chrome for Work, specifically for small businesses. My name's Nick King. I'm really happy to be here this morning with you guys. And I head up the global marketing team for Android and Chrome for Work. I've spent about 15 years in the industry and have really spent that time designing, launching, and managing products both for the enterprise and small business. You know, small business has really been a passion of mine for a very, very long time. In fact, the very first technology I worked in was all around small businesses. And so, you know, over these last 15 years, I've had the pleasure of working on a number of cloud technologies such as SQL Server, Windows Server, and Azure, as well as here at Google working on Android and Chrome and Google Cloud Platform. Locally here in the Bay Area, I work with a number of startups, and I also work with a number of startups back in my home country of New Zealand. So today we want to really take you through how Google enables a number of technologies and a number of platforms through Android and Chrome and Google Apps for Work for you as small businesses. Feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. I'm always there and responding if you need me, or feel free to email me at nickking@google.com. So why are Google devices so great for small businesses? Well, the thing is when we build these devices, we really think about how users use them as consumers as well. We think about the devices being very easy to set up, being very familiar for people to use, but also we build them in such a way where anyone can kind of move from any Google technology, from whether it be what you're used to an experience on search and online, whether it be Google Docs, and we make that same simplicity apply to Google devices. You know, we have two platforms we look at. One is Android, which is focused on mobile phones and tablets. And we also have Chromebooks, which is sort of the notebook form factor, or use them as Chromeboxes as desktop, as well as a number of devices that do things like you see. And I'm going to talk about those in a second. But the really cool thing about Google devices is we make them in such a way that connects them to the cloud. That means that you have all of the great computing power that we build here at Google and make that accessible through those devices. And the whole way through, we really think front and center about how do we secure and encrypt your information. How do we make them very manageable? And how do we make it so that if your own employees or seasonal workers use these devices, they can bring the device they love, the device they've chosen, make it easily connect to the things you use at work. You get to save money around doing that, and your employees are, you know, super excited about having those great devices. With all of that together and people having access, we know that people can increase their productivity. We know that when individuals are able to use the device they're most happy on, the one they're most familiar with, it reduces the cost of training. It means that you can easily collaborate on documents. We'll talk about how with Google devices and with Google Apps for Work, you're able to easily access the same file at the same time in multiple locations, have multiple people editing at the same time, and really collaborating around this information. We really set this vision of bringing everyone together, much like what you would expect if everyone was in the same room. We try to have the same effect globally. And a lot of the learnings that we share today, a lot of what goes into our product, actually start here at Google. A lot of the way we work day to day is how we're actually infusing that technology into these platforms. And so what we're hoping to do for you as small businesses is bring some of the investments we've made in the way we run our company at Google and bring those to you. Things like how we secure and separate information, things like how we even enable you to choose any device you want and bring it into the environment. And more recently, looking at how do we have the wide variety of applications and what platforms to develop upon, including cloud technologies, to mean that you can do anything with these platforms if you decide to, you know, design your own custom application or design your own technology to go to market with. I think it comes as no surprise to everybody that the way we work is fundamentally changing. You know, we know that most people don't necessarily always go to an office anymore. They don't go and sit at a computer the whole day. What they do, though, is they are always moving around. You know, they're in different locations. Your customers are in different locations. And you want this ability to be able to work wherever you go. And all of our devices, both Chromebooks and Android devices, are effectively designed to work anywhere. We assume that device is always mobile only, that it can be anywhere and connected at any time, which means that you as a user, you as a business owner, you as a small business can apply that to your employees as well. It means that you can pick up an Android device and log on. You can lose that device and pick up another device and do this through the same log-on process, get access to those applications and that data, and remotely with management tools also secure those. Another thing we see it's changing is that the employees that work for you are moving around more. Not only are they more mobile, they can be in different cities, different countries, in different time zones. And the way we look at bringing all this information together by moving the data into the cloud, by making sure that you can have a single file you can work from, it means that you can almost have round-the-clock access to these documents and see what changes got made in London the night before as you wake up here in California, and then as and sort of follow the sun happens across your environment. The other thing we look at is making sure that as these work styles change, that people are able to be portable across devices, whether using a Chrome device or an Android device. We really focus hard on making a very consistent experience across both devices. And even making sure that if you use a browser like Chrome browser, you're able to get the same experience, which really makes it give you a ton of flexibility around how you use these devices. So why Android and Chrome? Well, first up, it's about choice. You want to have the choice to choose different devices. You don't want to have to go buy the same device or pay, a set price for everything you use. You want to have the choice of buying, maybe a great brand new device for yourself, or you want to go have a different choice of lower cost devices for places where you don't want to have that same investment. And that means you can get more computing to more people. It means you can have the best tool for the job. And the great thing with Android and Chrome is because of the open platforms they build upon, you see a broad diversity of different types of devices. We see everything from devices that are water resistant, devices that have 4-inch screens, devices with thermal cameras on them, even devices that can be used in highly combustible areas or dropped into vats of acid. There's these wonderful choices you have as a small business in choosing how you use these devices. And that means also that your employees have choice. They may have decided to buy a device themselves, and they bring it into the office, and you want to be able to allow them to use that device, be productive when they're working with you, and have that opportunity to use what they prefer and bring all the technology enhancements we have with Google and the Android and Chrome platform, and really just have them simply connect. And at the same time, you want to be able to provide them secure information, have them have that available for offline both on Android and Chrome, but also control how that works. And I'll talk a little bit about how we actually enable that technology a little further on in the presentation. We also focus on making this technology for everyone. We think about how you make the data shareable, how you make things shareable. You want to make sure that anyone that picks up a device can log in and get access to that and have the right information for everybody. And it's really important to us. Our vision is that everyone should have a connected mobile device or a connected desktop. And that means they're able to work more efficiently, more productively, and you can, as a small business, reach your customers in a much better fashion. And finally, it all comes together with how do we bring all this around the power we have around cloud. Many Chromebooks run faster today after 2 years after we released them because we're constantly looking at how do we update and drive performance around these Chrome devices. And the other great thing is that as cloud software updates, you don't have to update your desktop operating system. You have to update the actual device itself. Basically, every time you refresh the browser, you get that new version. So it removes all the complexity around management. And with Google, you get that instant newest and greatest thing with Android and Chrome and Google for Work. So let's get a little more specific. Where can you use this type of stuff and how do we think about this? And so I want to talk about 4 specific use cases that we know that are great for small businesses. The first one I want to touch on is the shift worker. Now imagine you've got a group of people that come in, working multiple shifts a day, and you don't want to issue them all individual devices. What you want to issue is a place where they can go in and check training, or they could check schematics or check, report on what they've been working on. And you want to make sure that the device can be used by multiple people. But you also want to make sure that the device is secure, that it's very clear that the device has been managed, that you can provide the same consistent experience for everyone. But you want to make sure that each individual user is authenticated, that the person who's actually accessing the device is who they say they are. The beautiful thing with Chromebooks is they're very easy to provision, which means that basically anyone can come into any Chrome device, sign in, and they're instantly on, and there's no setup required. In fact, this is so simple you can literally send someone a new device without even really talking to them. They just log on like nothing happened, and they're up and going. Now, in a shift worker scenario, this means you can have one-to-many relationships with these devices. So you could buy one Chromebox, put it on the shop floor, and have that supporting 1, 10, 50, 100 different workers there. It's really a huge amount of flexibility and really peace of mind around having that device publicly accessible. Another scenario is the mobile worker. As I said, we've seen a lot of people move to be primarily mobile only or always on the go. And both Chrome and Android focus on this scenario. Both have offline capabilities to store your files, data, store running Chrome applications or Android applications. Both are able to really get up and go wherever you're setting up. And the great thing we're seeing with the mobile worker is that same security functionality means that if someone leaves a Chromebook in the back of, say, a delivery van and it gets stolen, it's very easy just to disable that Chrome device and not have to worry about any information. And you can set it up so that none of the data actually lives on the device, or that the offline data is instantly encrypted and it can't be accessed. And likewise in Android, we have a technology called the Android for Work profile, which is the same thing. It creates separation between the personal side of the device and the encrypted side of the device. Retail has always been a focus for us here at Google. We've seen a number of new scenarios happening within inside of retail. So Android actually supports a number of payment type solutions. We actually see a number of new scenarios where customers are actually engaging within the retail shop floor and actually starting to look at, okay, can you find stock? Can you bring a tablet into that? How can you pass off different promotions and coupons from the customer's mobile phone to your device? And we're increasingly see this growth in the retail scenario, especially when combined with Google Apps for Work and Chromebooks. We've seen this beautiful merge happening in the retail space. And finally, what other thing we're seeing is that giving customers access to your technology in store or in different environments is also really powerful. Just imagine that you've got a customer in store and they're looking for a specific part, and they're sort of looking for that part. They're looking, and they're actually become self-service. So the store's busy. They literally go there, they choose the part they want, they push the button. It can either get someone to bring it up to the front for them and access that, get that device, that part straight away, or they can simply have it shipped to them. So by having that in-store experience, by having that place for them to come, you're able to take more advantage of these types of self-service opportunities. We've seen similar things for setting appointments, working in medical centers. So you can just think all the different scenarios where enabling self-service makes for better customers, happier customers, but also means that you as a business are being more efficient and can sort of grow your business as well. So we kind of joke here. We always talk about what we're really in the businesses of glowing rectangles. Everything from Wear devices, so Android Wear, mobile phones, tablets, all the way right up to these signage solutions, ATMs, and Chromebox Mini, which is a video conferencing solution we offer. We really focus on how do we take anything that could be a possible glowing rectangle, make that manageable and accessible for you. So the way we do that is we bring it all together for Google for Work. And Google for Work has a number of technologies and solutions. And so to summarize for this talk, we've been talking about Android and Chrome. But another key piece of Google for Work is Google Apps for Work. Now, Google Apps for Work is our productivity solution. Mail, calendar, contacts. And when you bring that together with Android and Chrome, suddenly you have this beautiful scenario where no matter which device you log onto, how you connect them up, you're able to get that information as and when you need it, but also securely and managed. And we focus on driving a seamless connection across that, plus all the values you get from the different devices we have. Specifically, we use Gmail and Calendar to provide mail and calendaring. And we also have a technology called Hangouts, and Hangouts is powering what you're seeing us talk on today, and it allows you to do video conferencing, bring in multiple people into meetings, and it'll really change the way that you work. Today, a number of folks use conference calls. At Google, we don't use conference calls. We use this Hangout technology. And what's great about it is when you can see someone's facial expression, you see how they're working, it really allows you to understand what they're trying to communicate. It brings these teams together. And when you sort of start combining a mobile device, it'll work on a Chromebook, on an Android phone. And so we've got these scenarios where you find people like in the back of a car on the way to the airport, and at home, and in the office, and you just got this beautiful, constant ability to instantly collaborate and see people. G+ also is a great way of keeping in touch. A number of teams can use this, so you've got specific projects or rollouts. You can kind of provide updates, and that way you've got a canonical place where you can look at what have you been working on and how it all comes together. But some of the secret sauce for Google Apps for Work comes with a technology called Drive. Drive is where you store all of your information. It's a secure, encrypted managers who can access which files. But when you have your files in Drive, it means you can access them from anywhere. And the great thing with Android and Chrome is you can set those files to come out of the cloud and be secured and encrypted locally as well. So if you disconnect, you have access to your files. They're always backed up when you go back online, and then you could literally lose a device today, log on the next day, and then all your devices are as part of Drive. We also provide document editors, so you're able to access docs, spreadsheets, presentations, forms, and this is compatible with all formats. So you can edit Office documents, Google documents, so any sort of file and format you're commonly using, this technology is able to do it, and then store them back on Drive. So really think about how you bring all this together and make it super simple and connected. And then finally, we have a console which allows you to manage all this. So get new employees, add them in, give them a login password, give them access to certain applications. Don't want them to have access to parts of files on some files. You can lock that off. And really set policies as to how all this can be configured. We make it really, really easy. You also can just basically do nothing, and it will be best practices we set out of the box, make it as simple as possible to take advantage of this. So our goal really is to make the software and device equivalent of like having everyone in the room. So when you bring all this technology together, it's literally like if you had all your team in one place at one time, but with the assumption of all the things we mentioned before, that people are traveling, devices need to have lots of choice. And you know, it's such a beautiful thing when it all comes together. You know what it's like when you've had a great meeting of people and there's brainstorming, collaboration happening. Well, our goal is to make that happen anywhere. You know, it's a problem we struggle with at Google. Like, how do we get everyone in the room at the same time? People are very busy in different locations, working different time zones. And a lot of what you're seeing come into small businesses is that technology packaged up into Android and Chrome and Google for Work. So a good example of this is a company here in San Francisco called Betabrand. And what they are is basically a crowdsourced fashion company. So people design clothing, they all come together, they prototype it, they quickly check it, and within a matter of days, they've gone from concept, collaborate on how they're going to go build it, designed a prototype, and often within a matter of weeks, they've got this clothing and fashion out to the masses. Really, really cool company. You should check out some of their stuff. I've got a few pieces of their clothing. The cool thing with just all this thinking going on around this is that it means that there's all this clever things they've done, like traveling jackets and all sorts of things you'd never sort of expect. But the other cool thing is it's just an example of how do you bring multiple people that are making locations across the US and Asia, how do you bring all those things together in a fast way? And the way they do it is with Google for Work. They use the sharing, the conferencing, the access they have on any device to move very, very fast. It's just part of how they work, and it makes things very, very simple for them. Now, Chromebooks allow you to take advantage of all this. They are really designed to work with all of this in mind. They're flexible and affordable, which means they're priced at a variety of price points, but they're also very easy to use. Here at Google, we deploy these. We deploy devices all the time, and the great thing with Chromebooks and the great thing for an SMB is just how simple it is to go do it. You literally could have an employee go to a retail store, buy a Chromebook, and simply log on without ever having seen or touched the device, and that all the settings will go to that device. So there's no complexity around managing the actual underlying operating system. We've also been working very closely with our partners to make beautiful devices. The device you see here is the Dell Chromebook 13. It's got carbon fiber. The screen's touchscreen. It's a 1080p screen. Wonderful battery life. Core i5 processor, so very fast. But also we focused on securing information, so the device can be encrypted. You're able to store your information locally, work offline with things like mail and calendar, and have access to that. But also, rapidly connected and provide information out to folks. And I think that's what's kind of cool about this scenario, that you've got this sort of great choice as you bring all these technologies together. It's very, very easy. Sometimes the question I get asked is, how does this work with existing infrastructure? We're in the full work side of Google, we're very aware that there are other things out there. You might have a Windows environment or an Apple environment. And so we focused a lot on making those things compatible. You're able to use native file storage technology, so you're able to go connect to things like SMB shares or server message block shares or NTFS shares. And that allows you to kind of access data that might be stored locally. You might have a file server somewhere. We also expanded VPN support. So if you have a particular application you want to have, a tunneled element where you want to tunnel the information from the laptop to that other source, we support a multiple number of VPNs directly from the device. We've had a long-standing relationship with Citrix and VMware on virtualization. So if you're using VDI scenarios or if you're using terminal scenarios, you're able to go use that through Chromebooks. We've optimized the HTML5 receivers so you can get access to multiple applications. If you've got an old Windows application you want to maintain, simply virtualize it and you're able to access it highly performant over these HTML receivers from VMware and Citrix. And we've had a great partnership with those guys. And then finally, local printer support. So if you want to send directly to a printer on your local network, it's possible to do that from a Chromebook as well. So really being very conscious of all the existing infrastructure you have, but also making sure that you can simply integrate Chrome OS with the rest of your infrastructure. But wait, there's more. There's still more to come. So we have a number of other things Chrome does. So not just as your day-to-day device, we also built a technology called Chromebox for Meetings. Remember I talked about Hangouts? Well, what this technology does is it allows you to take any meeting room, attach a Chromebox for Meetings to a television screen, and before you know it, you've got a meeting room, a video conferencing room, for really a great price of under $1,000 here in the US, for you to be able to go through and access that video conferencing. So you can turn any meeting room into a video conferencing room. And I think that's a really great thing if you've got an office, say, in California and you've got one in New York, you're able to quickly connect those two up. One thing we learned was you can have these running all the time, and so you have these great interactions with people, like recognizing that there's people doing similar things to them in different cities. You might have a shop floor in one city and a shop floor in another city, and just having the ability for people to go ask questions how to do things is really, really powerful. Chrome signage has been a wonderful thing for us as well. What we've seen is that in small businesses you want to create a lot of signs. You might have a cafe and you have a menu, or you might be promoting certain things, and with digital signage you can write once and change many. So you might have signs in multiple locations. You simply update what you're presenting to the screen, and it updates all those screens. It's not just local as well, because it's cloud connected. You can have those screens multiple coasts, multiple countries. It saves the time of having to print something up, give instructions, hoping that people are going to put them up in the right place. All you do is you install the signage screen, connect up a Chromebox or a Chromebit, and then before you know it, wherever you go, that screen is instantly updated as you update, the master screen. And then the final solution we look at is what we call kiosk solutions. So think about having a public shared device. This could be something like a library where you have people accessing the internet. You want to go secure that just as one thing. You can make sure it wipes every time and keeps users secure. Or it could be in a reception as people come in and want to log in or check in into your hotel. And so these public kiosks and public sessions are locked down and secure and can do just one task. And it's a great way if you put them in an area where lots of people can access them, ensuring that nothing bad happens to them. A great example here as well is Better Business Bureau. And so over on the East Coast, they use these to actually put them inside their offices. So if you go there, what you'll see is they use Chrome devices so that anyone can walk in and use their technology, get access to work with staff. The staff actually use these devices, sit down, work with customers, and work with businesses to do stuff here. And then we're able to save a huge amount of money just being on Chromebooks, not just on the hardware costs, but also the cost of maintaining them. When you have people touching multiple devices, you have to go through and not only secure them, but occasionally go through and check to make sure nothing bad's happened to them. With Chromebooks, you have none of that drama. So very, very simple, huge amount of cost savings there. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about Android. Several years ago, we started working on Android for Work. And Android for Work is really our way of investing inside of Android and all of our Android hardware partners to have a number of technologies as part of Android. We added, with Lollipop, a number of core technologies. First, we added work profiles. And what work profiles do mean that you can come into the office with a device you've bought from your local carrier, and then with Android for Work, you can simply create what's called a work profile. And a work profile is a secure profile on top of that device. It's encrypted, it's managed, you can choose which applications go to it. And then if you say lose that device, you can wipe the entire device, or if you say want to give the device to somebody else, you can remove the work profile piece of that, and that none of your data is ever considered to be vulnerable. We also implemented an application. So if you have older devices, say ice cream sandwich and beyond, you can use this app as a way of securing applications on those devices, making sure that you have a consistent experience for users. You may have payment apps or workflow apps you want to make accessible to everybody. Google Play allows you to deploy applications, and so we've made it so that you can select with Play for Work which applications you can choose. And so part of all of Android, you can say, okay, I want these 4 applications to be available to my my employees. When they install the work profile, Google Play will only show those 4 applications, making things really, really simple. Now, on top of that, Android is an ecosystem. So not just what we do, but our partners have added a number of things as well. So we have management partners. So if you're using, say, an AirWatch or a Mobile Line, they can do management pieces for it. We also have partnerships with a number of application providers. So people like Box, people like Square. So you can go through and add those applications in a secure way on top of these devices. And of course, just the wide variety of Android devices that are out there today. From Lollipop onwards, or Lollipop ML1, all devices that include this technology, which is a huge, like hundreds of millions of devices are now having this technology available, which means that basically any device you buy today has this technology available. So big focus on security, big focus on making those apps very usable and accessible for small businesses, and ultimately having the choice to use any device you want, any Android device you want to go do this with. So I kind of talked about choosing any device, but I also want to sort of set up how we see mobile devices for SMBs. There's a traditional device that I think we're all very familiar with, right, which is the using your device for mail and sort of day-to-day calendaring and contacts. And that's been fantastic. We've seen that be such a great place where people have adopted mobility in the enterprise. But I don't know if today we see as many people using mobile devices as much as we see them changing their lives in the consumer world. And so one of the things we're doing with Android for Work is really focusing on how do we take advantage of that consumer type innovation and bring it to enterprise. And so first of all, we make sure that every Android device of the billions out there is able to be brought to work. Security, work profile, making sure that you can start to run those applications. But we're also starting to see Android devices used as single-use work cases. Think of having a tablet at the front of your store where you can go through and order in or swipe credit cards. Or you could use the same thing and build an application which controlled the air conditioning or a room setup. And so with the ability to develop on top of Android, we're seeing these devices, these Android devices becoming all shapes and sizes, being quickly changed into a number of different form factors. And I think as a small business, it gives you the opportunity to take advantage of this platform. Rather than having to go build custom hardware, you can choose an Android device that's the right price point configuration for you, write the application and lock it down, and then sell that as a product. And that means that we want to make sure every worker has these things, whether it be a device that is brand new and sort of a 6-inch screen and sort of designed to whatever, or you want to have a device that can withstand heavy impact or be in a flammable area. And so that diversity allows you to do that, but also allows you to bring in other devices. If you've got second-hand devices based on Android, make sure that management is consistent, that's available. And then finally, because of Android's flexibility, we want to be able to have devices that work in all form factors. So we have Android running in things like forklifts. We have Android running in things like smoke detectors. And so that, again, is a great element of how Android for Work is beyond just a smartphone, but also throughout all these different device types that are out there. And as a small business, that means you get access to this technology. You can develop against it if you want to, and not have to go to these huge R&D budgets to write your own custom operating system. So let's talk a little bit about work profiles. It's a dedicated work profile that isolates data. But what's really cool is that you get these badged apps. That means you see the briefcase on it. And when you see that, you know that application is running inside of the encrypted part of the device. It means that as a user, you'll visually recognize which app is for work and which app is personal. And you get that clear separation. And the great thing with Work Profile is that you can choose how that presents, how the rest of the device makes that accessible. You can choose what settings are available. And so once, as a user, the user has complete control of their personal side. But as a business, you can control what the work side of the device goes and sees. So it opens up all these great opportunities around, do you want to give certain users more access to certain functionality? Do you want to give other users less access to functionality? Which means you can be very controlled and manage with your data. Backing that all up is Google Play for Work. That allows us to focus on both how you purchase, how people deploy and manage these applications. We know that some people want to buy multiple applications for their users, and so this allows you to say, okay, I want to have these 4 applications, I'm going to pay for 5 licenses of these, and you say exactly who gets those applications, which means you don't get any surprise bills, which none of us like, but it does mean that you get the control to give the people you need the right tools they need, and all that is powered by Google Play for Work. We've really focused on simplifying that, making sure it's very easy to kind of go through and deploy applications, basically choosing them, add them to a library, and sending them out. A work managed device is another type of device configuration. What this means is that basically the entire device is controlled by your enterprise management or by Google Apps for Work. This means that you can wipe the device, lock the device, there's no personal data on it at all, or you have complete control of the device. So if you're buying devices for your employees, you want them to be used for a specific thing, you want to stop them from using, say, Facebook, or you want to make sure that they have certain applications installed. A work-managed device means that you are the device owner. You have complete policy control for it. If that device gets lost or stolen, you can shut that device off and it will never work again. So you have all these wonderful different options. This is used often also in Europe. We have different types of privacy controls and different types of legislation. We also see it in the US here, where these devices get used. If you're buying a number of devices, you want to make sure you have control there. And our whole goal with this was to make sure you had a flexible, manageable platform. So let me do a little quick comparison between the Nexus 5X and 6S. I mean, for us, we really focused on making sure these devices could be unlocked, making sure they were accessible, but also making sure they were affordable, making sure that you could easily buy these for your employees and provide them. Now, the great thing with Nexus is it's basically the newest and freshest version of Android, and we keep it up to date. You get monthly patch updates, but also you have the ability to choose any carrier you want, so you can move around and have that option. And I think that's a wonderful thing about the Nexus program. Very secure. We pride ourselves on sort of pushing the Android platform as we do that. And as an SMB, it's a great device to go look and explore. So as I draw to a close, I want to kind of talk about how we bring this together. For us, we want to change the way people work. We want to think about how you create that virtual meeting room wherever you go, using technology like Google Apps for Work, Chromebooks, and Android. We want to make sure that that has you to change the way that you work with your employees, you work with your customers, and you work with technology. You don't have to worry about things being stolen or hacked, because you've got the ability to secure all that as part of this platform. And with all of that, we know through research that when your employees and you work this way, they're more productive, but they're also a lot happier. They're happy to use the technology. They're less frustrated. It's much faster to fix and resolve things. And that is, if your employees and customers are happy, that's great for your business. It's great for you. And then finally, looking at how across all these devices, different scenarios, we can interweave productivity, figure out how we make security easy, and make that part of everything you do every day at work, and it's not in the way. It's a very easy way to get up, get started with your day, get home, and spend time on the things you love. So with that, I'm going to pause for a second, take a drink of water, and then I'm going to come back and have a look at some questions. Okay, so the first question is this recorded and can I watch it later? Yes, it is. So we're going to send you an email out probably later today or tomorrow. You'll get this full recording. You can go back and rewatch it. Feel free to ask us any questions. We'll be watching on Twitter. We'll be watching email, and it'd be great to for you to share it with your friends as well. We'll also look to share the presentation. All right, next question. What's the onboarding and setup time? The great thing is it's pretty minimal. To set up a Chrome device, basically you start it up and log on. It's really that easy. Google Apps Work is a sort of a 9-step setup process, which means once you set that up, you've got a domain. You can then go and instantly connect devices, use the sort of control panel within inside of Google Apps to set this all up. But really, it's designed to be very easy to set up. There's also an element of how you interact with other platforms if you've got them. So sometimes you can look at asking an IT partner to help you with that. Or we've got help documentation which allows you to go through and do that. Another question was around security measures in place to protect your business's information. Well, one thing that I didn't mention is we actually have a bounty for people to try and hack the Chromebook, and no one has been able to hack the Chromebook today. In fact, we've had it going for so long now. We've literally just raised the bounty to be $100,000 if anyone can hack this, which is showing our confidence in this Chromebook device. We built it inherently to be secure from the ground up. On the Android device as well, the Play Store protects your applications. The work profile encrypts your information. All devices from Marshmallow onwards are all completely encrypted. And so for us, focus on both the security of the data, whether it be stored locally or stored in our cloud, is encrypted end-to-end. And of course, the management tools mean that if the device is stolen, it's really easy to wipe it and make sure none of that data is available. All right, next question here. Is there any best practice information available on Android tablets in retail store for employees, and how to completely lock the device, totally managed by an admin, and push the apps? In this configuration, I'd recommend two things. One is using Android for Work functionally called COSU, or Corporate Owned Single Use. And what this means is you can tell that device to boot up and only run that one application. You can use your management partner to go help with that, so think AirWatch, Mobiline, or Google Apps will also do this for you. And that means that no matter what you do to the device, even if you try and hack it, it will always boot into that one app. And the only way to do that is with the management console you have. So it gives you peace of mind, but also means you can update it. If you want to change the way those devices work, if you need to update the app, if you decide to change apps completely, you simply update that configuration and you're good to go. Okay, another question here on point of sale. Can I use Chromebook and Android devices as a point of sale system? The answer is yes. I've seen a number of Android devices used as point of sale. There's a number of applications in Play Store that are doing that, as well as payment solutions. The Chromebooks as well have been doing it, but I have to admit I see that much more in Android. And I think this has to do with just the diversity in devices, the different sizes and shapes, and just the diverse app ecosystem of Play Store. All right, my employees use different devices. How can they all work better together? So the trick here is to use Google Apps for Work. When you put everything into Google Apps for Work, it means that the data is all connected. So even if I was to switch devices and say log in from a different phone or my mum's computer or my friend's computer, I can still get access to that information. It's all there in the cloud. And so your teams can use different computers, get access to information in one place. And the other thing to think about it is that because the way it's so easy to set up, if someone's out of the office and has left the computer on their desk, you can simply log onto that. You have no idea, you can't see their information, and you've got access to your information just like that. What are the common tasks that small businesses are doing on desktop right now that they could easily outsource to a mobile device? There's a couple ones that I've seen recently. I've seen a lot of inventory management starting to shift to a mobile device where people have spreadsheets. And what I've seen them do is use Google Forms as a way of starting to use it as a way of inventory management. I've also seen people using video conferencing. I've seen them use things like a phone to go through and do training as well. So they're like video conferencing while they're pointing to a part, trying to understand how things work. They've got this visual cue, showing and coaching through that. And so this remote training that I've started to see evolve as well. And then the other thing is presentations. In fact, earlier today, I did an entire presentation from my mobile phone standing in the room. So no longer having to have a machine connected to a big screen. Basically, from my mobile phone, I was presenting the entire slides experience from that. Offline. So when you might be offline, there's a couple things we can do. On Chromebooks, Gmail, Calendar, Drive, all those technologies are able to be managed offline. And on Android, the applications are all designed to run offline. So the great thing is as soon as you connect back up, all your changes sync back up into the cloud. People can see exactly what you've been doing. So for me, sometimes I fly internationally, so there's no internet. I can make all those changes, and then when I sign back on, when I get internet, all my changes, all my emails go out into the wild. Next question. Can you please review the Chromebox meetings? We have a 5-person firm in 3 locations, Southern California, 2 offices in Thailand. We'd like to learn more whether Chromebox is a good choice for our company. Well, that's a good question. In fact, I've seen this happen a number of times. The great thing is it does work in multiple countries. It's supported both in the US and in Thailand. And all you have to do is just set them up in an office. So it basically comes in a box. It has a Chrome box in it, a speaker, and microphone, a remote, and a camera. And so you put the camera basically under the TV. You connect up all the devices. You put the speaker on the desk, and then using Google Apps, or you can just dial in and name the meeting. The different teams can simply sign on, and then before you know it, you're up and going. It's really, really simple. And if you want to send me a mail, I can send you, or tweet me, I can send you more details on Chromebox meetings. Okay, another question. You guys got lots of questions. I love it. What is the best practice for sharing documents? For example, a document in a shared folder with specific people also needs to be shareable with a link on a website that anyone has a link to access that document. Should the document be placed in a shareable link or a non-shared folder? Okay, this is a good question. Let me think about this for a second. So, when you're sharing a document, just one document that you're going to put online, my recommendation is to share the document individually. The reason why I recommend that is because it allows you to have the most control over that document. And you might want to put a link tool, a link tracking tool to see how many people are actually accessing that document. That way you control the security by documents. You don't accidentally have someone put something in the folder and make it publicly accessible. But also you can tell how many people are accessing that document and can make decisions like, is this the right document? Should I invest more in this document or this document? And that way you know exactly what is happening with those documents. Internally, you can set broad policies. So, for example, in my team, I have access to all my team now to access, a number of key shared folders, and most of my content goes into that. And then we have other things where everyone from Google can view all that content. And so you can think at a sort of a broader company level, how do you want people to get access to that information? All right, and this is my last question, I think. With automatic updates, how is compatibility and continued functioning of critical extensions ensured for the company? Well, when we look at updating Chrome and Chrome OS and Android, we run a number of tests around it. And so Chrome OS itself uses the same test harness or testing as what we use for Chrome browser. And so we can see what happens there and actually see if things change and break. And so we're constantly looking at which of those are all the extensions working as they were prepared before. We also have partnerships with a number of enterprise companies. So I talked about Citrix and VMware before, and we're also testing with them to make sure anything we change doesn't affect their changes. And so we have close collaborations to focus on that, a number of testing solutions to make it all come together. And our goal is to make sure you guys are up and running and secure and fast as possible with as little disruption as possible. And that's kind of how we do it. We focus on testing, we focus on partnerships. We also go through and we run sort of an alpha, beta, and sort of public channel. So if you look through how we push things out, there's like a number of stages we go through, and gradually more and more devices get access to that. And so if we miss something, we usually find out about that in sort of the pre-release phase rather than the final release phase. That was a great question. So with that, I want to say thank you so much for spending time with me. I know you guys are very, very busy. Feel free to tweet me. Feel free to watch out for the email from us. Really excited we can share some time today. And with that, I'd like to have a great day. Thank you.